Goals are about outcome. Systems are about process. And if you don't master the process, the outcome will never arrive. A rich man isn't made by dreams. He's made by decisions that compound every single day. Today, we'll talk about building your own personal wealth infrastructure, from how you earn, save, invest, and learn. By the end of today, you'll know how to set up financial, personal, and professional systems that run even when your motivation doesn't. You know, one of the great illusions we carry with us is the belief that dreaming big is enough. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for dreams. Dreams are powerful. They inspire, they ignite hope, and they give direction. But here's what I discovered after working with people from all walks of life. Dreams alone don't pay the bills. Dreams don't fund your retirement. Dreams don't create freedom. What does? What you do every day. Not once in a while, not once a month when motivation hits, but every single day, wealth comes from what you repeat, not what you dream. And that's where most people go wrong. They confuse intensity with consistency. They think a weekend of grinding will make up for years of neglect. They work really hard for a few weeks, set goals that look good on paper, and then nothing. They fall off. They get distracted. And eventually they give up. Why? Because they didn't build the system. They didn't build the habit. They didn't build the rhythm. Let me tell you, I've met people who were earning 6 figures a year and still broke. Why? No consistent system. I've met others who were working regular jobs, nothing fancy, school teachers, postal workers, small business owners, and they quietly became wealthy. Not overnight. Not because they hit the jackpot, but because they did the right things every single day. They didn't rely on motivation, they relied on rhythm. That's the secret right there, rhythm. When you develop a rhythm, it becomes natural. You don't even think about it. You save before you spend, not once, but every paycheck. You invest a small amount, not when it's convenient, but as a ritual. You read something about money or human behavior daily, not because someone told you to, but because you've learned it feeds your mind. That's how wealth sneaks up on you, quietly, consistently. Years ago, I started tracking my habits, and it changed everything. I used to think I was productive until I saw it on paper. I realized I was letting too many days slip by. Days without learning. Days without saving. Days without stretching. So I made a rule. I created a habit tracker. Every day I had to record 3 things. Did I invest? Did I save? Did I study something that would make me wiser? If I didn't check it off, I didn't go to sleep satisfied. And over time, that little habit changed my life. That's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, today. Build your own habit tracker. It doesn't have to be fancy. A notebook, a spreadsheet, or even a sticky note will do. But make it visible. Track the actions that lead to wealth. Saving, investing, learning, serving, and track them every single day. Don't aim for perfection, aim for consistency. You miss a day? Fine. But don't miss 2. You fall off for a week? Fine. But don't let it become a month. Because here's the truth. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your systems. Show me your habits, and I'll show you your future. If you're not repeating the right behaviors, it doesn't matter how good your intentions are. If your actions aren't aligned with your goals, your dreams become distant illusions. But if your habits match your vision, even in small ways, you're already wealthy. Because you're on the path. You're no longer hoping. You're building. It's easy to underestimate the power of small things done daily, but I've seen it too many times to ignore. A man saves $5 a day, just 5 and 20 years later, he has a down payment for a business that changes his family's destiny. A woman reads 10 pages a night and in 5 years becomes an expert in her field. Another invests a few $100s a month and retires earlier than her peers, not because they were smarter, but because they were consistent. So stop worshiping intensity. Stop chasing the next big thing. Start mastering the small things. Get boring with your money habits. Get predictable with your behavior. Because wealth, my friends, isn't an event. It's a repetition. And once you understand that, everything changes. One of the most dangerous lies we buy into is that setting the goal to get rich is the same thing as building wealth. But I've met people who hit big numbers, big deals, big commissions, big jackpots, and within a year, 2 years, they were right back where they started, sometimes worse. Why? Because they set the goal to be rich, but they never built the system to stay rich. And let me tell you something that took me a long time to learn. Anyone can get lucky once, but staying rich, that's not luck, that's design. That's architecture. That's systems. You see, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. And even more than that, it's about what you do with what you keep. That's where systems come in. Because systems protect you from yourself. When life gets emotional, and it will, a good system keeps you steady. When the market dips, or you get a surprise bill, or the neighbors start showing off their toys, your system says, stick to the plan. That's power. Now, you may say, well, I've got goals. I want $1 million in the bank. That's fine. That's a vision. But the real question is, what is the system that's going to get you there and keep you there? A goal says, I want to be in shape. A system says, I work out 4 days a week and never skip 2 in a row. You see the difference? One is hope, the other is habit. In my early years, I earned good money in spurts. A little here, a little there. But the problem was I spent it as fast as it came in. No rules, no system. And when the income slowed down, I had nothing to show for it. That's when I started to study the wealthy. And what I saw wasn't just ambition. It was discipline. It was structure. They had rules for how they saved, rules for how they invested, even rules for how they gave. It wasn't glamorous, but it was effective. And more than that, it was sustainable. So here's what I did. I built a personal financial system. I sat down and wrote it out. Where the money goes, how much gets saved, when it gets invested, and where. I created a rhythm. Money in, money sorted, money grown, no guesswork. And guess what? Over time, the system became automatic. The money started working for me, not just me working for it. You need your own system, not someone else's. Yours. A system that reflects your values, your goals, your lifestyle, but make it real. Write it down. Define your income streams. Are they active, passive, diversified? Define your savings rules. What percentage do you set aside before you spend a dime? Define your investment cadence. Do you invest monthly, quarterly, and where? Is it stocks, real estate, business, education? Be specific. And once you have that system, honor it. Guard it. Don't break your rules just because you feel rich one day. That's how people lose everything. They mistake temporary abundance for permanent wealth. But true wealth doesn't come from one big break. It comes from doing the right things long enough for compounding to do its magic. Let me give you something practical. Take out a sheet of paper and write the title, My Personal Financial System. Under that, write 3 things. Number 1, income streams. List them out. Job, side business, investments, royalties, whatever applies. Number 2, savings rules. Maybe it's, I save 15% of every paycheck, no exceptions. Maybe it's, I save all bonuses, gifts, and windfalls. And number 3, investment cadence. That might be, I invest 10% of my income every month into index funds, or I buy 1 rental property every 18 months. The point is, make it clear, make it repeatable, and make it non-negotiable. Because the people who stay rich aren't the ones who make the most, they're the ones who manage the best. They let systems guard their wealth while they go live their lives. They sleep better, they stress less. Because the big questions, where should the money go? What should I do next? Have already been answered. So if you want to be wealthy, don't just aim for a number. Build a machine that produces and protects that number over and over and over again. Because the goal might make you rich once, but only a system will keep you rich for life. People often say, I wish I had more discipline. They talk about discipline like it's a rare genetic trait, like blue eyes or being 6'3". But let me tell you what I've learned over a lifetime of studying success and failure. Discipline is not a trait. It's not something you're born with or without. Discipline is a system, a structure, a choice you make once and then build into the rhythm of your life. Now, don't misunderstand. In the beginning, it might feel like discipline takes effort. That first morning you wake up early to work on your dream before your job starts, that takes will. That first time you say no to something tempting so you can save a few dollars, that takes intention. But you don't rely on willpower forever. That's a losing game. No one wins by trying to be strong every single day. What wins, what lasts, is when you design systems that make discipline automatic. Success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. And the person you become is shaped by the systems you set up. If you're the kind of person who automatically saves the first 15% of your income before you see it, guess what? That's a disciplined person, even if they don't feel like they're disciplined. Why? Because they've automated it. They made one decision and set it on repeat. That's smart. That's structure. That's the system doing the heavy lifting, not the mood. Back when I first started learning these lessons, I thought discipline meant waking up at 5 a.m. and powering through the day by sheer will, but I'd burn out. I'd be consistent for 3 days, then fall off for 2 weeks, then I'd feel guilty, then I'd start again. You know that cycle? That's what happens when you chase discipline instead of designing for it. Everything changed when I stopped trying to be disciplined and started building systems. I set up automatic transfers. Money from my main account went straight into savings, into investments, into my giving account before I even had a chance to make an emotional decision about it. I scheduled weekly review times, 10 minutes every Sunday evening, to glance at my budget, check my goals, and make one small adjustment. It took almost no effort. But over time, it rewired my habits, reshaped my behavior, and rebuilt my confidence. And that's when the magic started. You see, success doesn't require you to be a superhero. It requires you to be consistent. And consistency is easy when you've built the road beneath your feet. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need a motivational video or a 10-step plan to brush your teeth every morning. You just do it. Why? Because it's been built into the fabric of your life since you were a child. What if you treated your savings that way? What if you treated your investment habits, your learning routines, your giving? What if all of that lived in the background of your life like brushing your teeth? That's the kind of life that creates wealth. Quietly, predictably, without drama. And here's the real reward. Once you start seeing results from these systems, it reinforces the behavior. You check your investment account and see it growing, even on the days you did nothing. You look at your savings balance and realize you've saved more in 6 months with automation than in 6 years trying to be better. That's when you stop needing motivation, because now the results motivate you. So here's something practical. Choose one area of your financial life and automate it. Set up an automatic transfer, maybe $25 a week into a separate savings account. Do it, even if it's small, especially if it's small. Because small, automated actions over time become large, permanent results. Maybe it's your investment account. Maybe it's debt payments. Maybe it's giving. Pick one. Make it automatic. Make it invisible. And then let that system do the work. Remember, discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being prepared. It's not a test of strength. It's a matter of design. And once you stop depending on willpower and start depending on structure, your life will shift from struggle to stability, from chaos to clarity. Because in the end, those who build systems live the life others only dream about. One of the greatest discoveries of my life was this simple truth. If you want to have more, you must become more. Success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. And that means your greatest investment isn't in the market or in business, or in gold. It's in yourself. Because when you grow, everything around you grows. Your income expands. Your influence multiplies. Your capacity to lead, to solve problems, to create value, it all rises to meet the level of who you've become. And that, my friend, is why you must build a system of personal development. Now let's be clear, this isn't about reading a book once in a while when you feel inspired. This isn't about watching a motivational video now and then. That's nice. But what changes your life isn't occasional inspiration. It's daily transformation. Consistency, a system, something structured, dependable, and regular. That's how growth becomes permanent. I learned early that if I worked hard on my job, I'd make a living. But if I worked hard on myself, I could make a fortune. I remember when I was broke, 25 years old, and working a job that barely covered my bills. I didn't have extra money, but I made a decision. I would invest $20 every month in books and audio programs. And I carved out 30 minutes a day, just 30 minutes, to read or listen and take notes. That simple practice, repeated day after day, changed everything. Not overnight, but over time. It sharpened my thinking. It elevated my confidence. And eventually it altered the course of my entire life. So many people try to change their income before they change their mindset. They chase the money instead of preparing themselves to receive it. But you don't get wealthy by accident. You don't rise by luck. You rise by design. And your personal development plan is the blueprint. Without it, you drift. With it, you rise. Now, here's the practical side. You need to create a system, a habit loop for growth. Block 30 minutes a day. That's it. Protect that time like it's gold, because it is. Use it to read a book on wealth, listen to a business podcast, review your notes from a seminar, or journal what you've learned. Make that time sacred. Do it before the world gets noisy, or do it before bed. But do it. Not when you feel like it. Not when things are calm. Do it daily, no matter what. Imagine this. Just 30 minutes a day adds up to over 180 hours a year. That's the equivalent of 4 or 5 full-time work weeks spent on nothing but improving your mindset, learning skills, and upgrading your thinking. Now ask yourself, what kind of return would that bring over the next 5 years? What kind of person would you become? And it doesn't have to be complicated. Start simple. Choose one book on wealth this month. Read 10 pages a day. Take notes. Apply one idea. That's how you start momentum. That's how you plant the seed. Over time, you'll build a library of wisdom, not just on your shelf, but in your head. And no one can take that from you. The money can come and go. Markets rise and fall. But who you've become, that's permanent wealth. One of the turning points in my own journey was when I stopped waiting for life to get easier and decided to get stronger. I stopped hoping for the economy to change and chose to change myself. That mindset of relentless self-improvement is the foundation of everything I've built. And you can do the same, not with luck, but with system, with intention, with discipline. So here's the truth. The quality of your future will be determined by the quality of your habits. And personal growth is the master habit. It's the one that unlocks all the others. If you grow, your wealth will follow. Your business will follow. Your relationships, your leadership, your influence, they will all rise to meet you. Because in the end, wealth doesn't come to the person who works the hardest. It comes to the person who grows the most. One of the best disciplines you can ever learn in the world of money, and one of the earliest lessons I was ever taught, is simple. Pay yourself first. That little phrase can turn a paycheck into a fortune. And it's astonishing how many people go through life never understanding it. They earn, they spend, they scrape together what's left, if anything, and call it savings. And they wonder why they're always one step behind, always chasing the next check, always tight at the end of the month. But let me tell you something. If you don't learn to save before you spend, wealth will always be a stranger, always just out of reach. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I don't make enough to save first. Let me challenge that. If you can live on 100% of your income, you can live on 90%. The difference is not in the income, it's in the habit, it's in the mindset. Because saving is not about the amount, it's about the rhythm. It's about honoring your future before your pleasures. It's about saying to the universe, to your bank account, to yourself, I matter. My future matters. My freedom matters. See, most people treat saving like an afterthought, something they'll get around to once everything else is taken care of. But here's the problem with that. Life will always find a way to spend every penny you don't protect. There's always something, an offer, a craving, a discount, a friend's birthday, a gadget. And if you wait to see what's left, most times there'll be nothing left. That's not a lack of money, that's a lack of system. That's why I teach people to save first, automatically and without debate. Make it non-negotiable, like paying rent, like paying your phone bill. Because think about it. If you don't pay your landlord, there are consequences. But if you don't pay your future self, most people just shrug and say next month. And they say that for 10 years. Here's what changed my life. I made saving a bill. Every time I got paid, no matter how small, I put away 10%. Later, as my income grew, I pushed that to 15%, then 20%. And here's the magic. The moment I made it automatic, I stopped noticing it, I adjusted, I learned to live on the rest. And over time, that 10%, 15%, 20%, it compounded, it gave me options, it gave me margin, it gave me peace of mind. Now don't wait to feel rich to start saving. That's backwards. You don't wait for wealth to create discipline. You create discipline to invite wealth. If you can't save $1 out of 10, don't kid yourself. You won't save 1,000 out of 10,000. That's not a money problem. It's a habit problem. Start small. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your savings the moment your paycheck hits. Make it invisible. Make it consistent. You don't have to think about it, you just have to commit to it. Maybe it's $20 a week, maybe it's 10% of your freelance gig. The amount doesn't matter as much as the motion, because money loves motion, money loves order. And when you start respecting money by saving it first, it starts respecting you. Let me give you a practical visual. Imagine your money is an employee. If you give it no direction, it'll wander, it'll waste time. It'll work for someone else. But if you give it structure, if you say, this portion is going to savings, this portion to investing, this portion to giving, this portion to expenses, now it's working on your team. It's building your future. But you have to be the boss. You have to set the rules. And one more thing. When you save first, something powerful happens. You become less reactive and more intentional. You stop panicking at every bump in the road. You stop living paycheck to paycheck. You stop being controlled by emergencies, and instead, you become someone who's prepared, someone who can breathe, someone who can make decisions from a place of strength, not stress. That's real freedom. That's wealth. So remember this, if you don't learn to pay yourself first, you'll spend your life paying everyone else first, and you'll always be last in line. Don't do that. Build the habit now. Save first, spend what's left every time. One of the greatest mistakes people make, especially in their pursuit of wealth, is assuming that action alone will get them there. Just hustle, just grind, just keep pushing. But I'll tell you something I learned early on. Don't work harder before you've thought better. Action without reflection is like sailing with a broken compass, lots of motion, no direction. And the truth is, most people are busy, but very few are effective. They do a lot, but they don't get very far. Why? Because they don't stop to think. They don't set aside time to assess, evaluate, and recalibrate. They just go. And then wonder why they keep circling the same mountain. Let me tell you what changed the game for me. I started setting aside a little time every week, not for action, but for awareness. Not for doing, but for thinking. And I called it my clarity session. Just 30 minutes, usually on a Sunday evening. No noise, no phone, no distractions. Just me, a notebook, a pen, and my thoughts. And that half hour, week after week, became one of the most profitable habits I ever built. Because in that space, I could ask myself powerful questions. What worked this week? What didn't? Where did my money go? Did I move closer to my financial vision, or did I drift? Did I stick to my system, or did I fall into old habits? Those answers, week after week, began sharpening my decision making. They helped me spot patterns. They showed me what to double down on and what to drop. You see, the rich don't just act more. They think better. They take time to zoom out, to look at the bigger picture, to ask, is this still working? Or is there a better way? The poor think it's a waste of time to think. But the wealthy know thinking time saves you time. It saves you money. It reveals clarity. It helps you course correct before the damage is done. And in the long run, that's what makes the difference. Now, thinking time is not some mystical concept. It's a practical system. And the best part? Anyone can do it. You don't need $1 million income or a private island to think clearly. You just need intention. You need space. You need quiet. You need the courage to be honest with yourself. Because thinking time, when done right, doesn't just reveal where you're going, it reveals who you're becoming. Here's a simple way to begin. Every Sunday, schedule 30 minutes, same time, same place. Make it sacred. Treat it like a meeting with your financial future. Turn off the noise. Grab a pen and notebook. Yes, paper. There's something powerful about writing by hand when you're trying to access your own wisdom. And then ask yourself, what did I do this week that moved me closer to wealth? Where did I spend emotionally instead of logically? What financial decision did I avoid that needs attention? Where am I growing? Where am I stuck? Just sit with those questions. Don't rush. Let the answers come to you. You'll be amazed what your own mind will reveal if you give it space to speak. Most people never do. They drown their inner voice in noise, in distraction, in constant movement. But when you pause and listen, that's when real breakthroughs happen. And here's the magic. The more you practice this, the more precise you become. You begin to spot blind spots before they become breakdown. You start anticipating problems instead of reacting to them. You begin living with intention instead of running on autopilot. Your decisions improve and your results follow. So if you're serious about wealth, not just income, but real long-term wealth, then carve out that thinking time. Make it a ritual. Make it yours. Because in a noisy world, clarity is a competitive advantage. Don't wait for life to force you to stop and reflect. Build the habit now. Think deliberately, think consistently, and think in service of the life you want to build. Thinking time won't cost you much, but ignoring it could cost you everything. One of the quietest thieves of success is decision fatigue. It creeps in slowly, almost unnoticed, until one day you realize you're exhausted, not because you work too hard physically, but because your mind has been worn down by the constant grind of choices. Every dollar spent, every opportunity weighed, every yes or no to money decisions drains your mental energy. And when your mind is tired, guess what happens? You start sabotaging yourself. You make poor choices. You settle for quick fixes. You stray from your plan. I've seen it many times, not just in others, but in myself. Here's the truth. Wealth is often less about intelligence or luck, and more about systems and rules that protect you from yourself. When you systematize your money habits, you create a fortress around your future. You don't leave your success to chance or willpower because those things wear out. Instead, you put principles in place that run on autopilot so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you face a decision. Think about it. If every day you had to decide whether or not to save, whether or not to invest, whether or not to buy something unnecessary, how long would you last? How long before exhaustion causes you to give in to temptation? The solution isn't to try harder. It's to make fewer decisions. It's to create rules so clear and simple that you don't have to debate or second guess yourself. Rules that act like guardrails, keeping you safely on track no matter how tired or stressed you are. I learned this the hard way. Early in my career, I tried to manage every financial decision as a one-off event. Should I invest in this opportunity? Should I buy this car? Should I save or spend? I was constantly on the verge of mental burnout, and as a result, I made mistakes. Then I started writing down my personal money commandments, simple, non-negotiable rules I committed to follow no matter what. For example, I never borrow money for wants, only for investments. Or I always save at least 10% before I spend. These rules freed me from the exhausting back and forth of daily money decisions. I stopped feeling overwhelmed. I started feeling confident. And you can do the same. Start small. Write down just 3 financial commandments today, 3 rules that matter most to your goals and values. Maybe it's, I never use credit cards for purchases I can't pay off immediately. Or, I automate my savings each payday. Or, I never chase get-rich-quick schemes. Make these rules as clear and simple as possible. Make them your shield against temptation and fatigue. Then, guard those rules like you would your most valuable asset. When you face a decision that doesn't fit your rules, pause and remind yourself why the rules exist. To protect your future freedom, to preserve your financial integrity, to build lasting wealth. The more you respect your own money rules, the less room you give your doubts, your fears, or the noise of the world to sway you. This is how winners operate. Not by making every decision from scratch, but by building systems that reduce friction and mental load. Your brain was designed to solve problems, not to endlessly debate the same decisions. When you remove unnecessary choices, you free up energy to focus on what truly matters. Growing your income, improving your skills, creating value. So, don't let decision fatigue sabotage your financial future. Don't wait for motivation or willpower. Build your money commandments today. Make them ironclad. Let them carry you forward when your strength runs low. And watch how much easier, smoother, and more predictable your path to wealth becomes. Remember, the more you systematize, the less you sabotage. When it comes to building wealth, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is trying to swim upstream against their own nature. They chase opportunities that don't fit their skills or interests. They try to force habits that feel unnatural, and they get discouraged when things don't click quickly. But the truth is, wealth isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. And working smarter means building systems around your strengths. You see, leverage is the magic word. Leverage means multiplying your effort by putting it where it naturally excels. It means playing the game where you have the best chance to win. In the same way a carpenter uses the right tools to shape wood efficiently, you want to use your natural talents and passions to shape your financial future. When your daily habits align with your strengths, you create momentum that carries you forward even on days when motivation is low. I've learned this through experience. Early on, I tried to follow every shiny opportunity that came my way, whether or not it was a fit for me. I'd push myself into roles or projects that weren't natural, thinking sheer willpower could overcome any mismatch. But the truth is, it just wore me out. I realized my energy and effort were limited resources, so why waste them where they wouldn't produce the best return? So, I began to take stock of my own skills and passions. What came easily, what energized me, what people asked me for help with, and I began to build systems that leveraged those strengths. Instead of trying to be good at everything, I focused on being excellent at a few things. That's where real leverage happens. That's where consistency turns into growth. Let me give you a practical example. If you have a natural gift for communicating, maybe your side hustle should be coaching, writing, or sales. If you're good with numbers and patterns, perhaps investing or building financial models fits you best. If creativity lights a fire in you, then maybe entrepreneurship or content creation is your path. Whatever your strength is, build a system that makes it a daily habit. Small actions that compound over time. This approach isn't just about comfort, it's about results. When you lean into your strengths, you enjoy what you do more, which means you're more likely to stick with it. You become more efficient, more effective, and you create habits that don't feel like a grind. Your system becomes a reflection of your unique ability, not a generic checklist. The strategy here is simple. Start by identifying your top 3 strengths. Think about what you do best, what others recognize you for, and what brings you satisfaction. Then, design your financial system around those strengths. This could mean choosing investment vehicles you understand, creating a business model that suits your personality, or even automating parts of your finances that you find tedious so you can focus on where you shine. Once your system matches your talents, it becomes self-reinforcing. You'll find it easier to develop discipline because you're working with your natural inclinations, not against them. The small daily steps add up faster, and your confidence grows. Before long, what seemed like a struggle becomes second nature, and wealth starts to grow quietly but steadily. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect at everything, but to be strategic about where you put your energy. When you do that, you create an environment where success is more than possible. It's inevitable. You've heard it said many times that money isn't everything, but when it comes to financial success, what truly matters isn't just what you earn, it's what you keep. Income is important, no doubt about that. But income alone can be misleading. You can have a big paycheck and still feel like you're spinning your wheels, never quite getting ahead. That's because the real measure of wealth is your net worth, the difference between what you own and what you owe. I've met many people over the years who focus exclusively on increasing their income, always chasing the next raise, the next promotion, the next opportunity to earn more money. And while that's admirable, it's only one piece of the puzzle. Without keeping a close eye on your net worth, it's like running a race without knowing the finish line. You may be running fast, but are you actually moving closer to your goal? The philosophy here is simple. Wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep and grow. That's why tracking your net worth every month is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. It forces you to be honest about where you stand financially, not just in terms of your salary or business revenue, but in terms of your assets and liabilities. When I first started tracking my net worth, I realized how easy it was to overlook the silent leaks that drain our financial lives. Credit card debt, loans, recurring expenses that pile up. These things quietly erode the gains you make from income. But when you measure net worth consistently, those leaks become visible, and you can take action to fix them. The strategy is straightforward. Create a simple system, a spreadsheet or an app that tracks the value of everything you own, your savings, investments, property, business interest. Then subtract all your debts. Credit cards, loans, mortgages, anything owed. The number you get is your net worth. Once you have that number, update it regularly, ideally on the first day of each month. This becomes your financial report card. By making this a monthly ritual, you create accountability for yourself. You see the progress, or you see where you need to make adjustments. When you watch your net worth grow, it's incredibly motivating. When it dips, you know exactly where to look and what to fix. It's like tending a garden. You don't just plant seeds and hope for growth. You check the soil, water, and weed out what's choking your plants. The practical step is simple but profound. On the first of every month, sit down with your spreadsheet or financial tool and update every number. Be honest, be thorough. It only takes a few minutes, but the impact is enormous. Over time, this habit transforms your relationship with money. It turns financial management from a vague, overwhelming concept into a clear, actionable plan. Let me tell you, tracking net worth changed my own life. I remember the first time I saw my numbers laid out clearly, my assets, my debts, my net position. It was eye-opening. It gave me clarity and control. Instead of feeling like I was at the mercy of my paycheck or the economy, I began to make intentional choices. I shifted from living paycheck to building real financial strength. And here's the key. This isn't about obsessing over every penny or creating stress around money. It's about gaining awareness and taking control. When you track your net worth, you stop guessing and start knowing that knowledge breeds confidence. Confidence breeds action, and action breeds wealth. So, if you want to build lasting financial success, don't just focus on your income statements or bank deposits. Focus on your net worth. Make tracking it a system, one that you follow with discipline and consistency. Because the rich don't just make money, they keep it, grow it, and measure it. And that's the secret many overlook. I want you to think about this. Wealth isn't just about what you accumulate, it's about what you circulate. You see, money is energy, and like any energy, it flows. If you hold on to it tightly, it stagnates. But when you give, when you release some of that energy, it starts a cycle of abundance that always returns in one way or another. This is a secret that the wealthy understand deeply. Giving is not a loss, it's an investment in the flow of life. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. When money is tight, how can I afford to give? Isn't it smarter to keep every dollar I have? The truth is, if you wait until you have plenty before you give, you might never give at all. The philosophy behind systematizing giving is to make generosity a fixed part of your financial system, regardless of the size of your income. This means you don't wait for the right moment. You don't wait to be wealthy. You give consistently, even if it's small. When I first started my journey, I didn't have much to give, but I made a commitment. No matter how little money came in, I would always set aside a portion for giving. I treated it like a bill, non-negotiable. It was just a small percentage, but it became a habit that shaped my mindset. And what I found was remarkable, when you give, you shift your focus from scarcity to abundance. Your mindset changes. You begin to see opportunities and resources you never noticed before. The strategy here is to build generosity into your money system. Just like you pay your bills or save a portion of your income, allocate a fixed percentage every month for giving. It might be 1%, 5%, or even 10%, depending on where you are financially. The important part is consistency. This systematizes your generosity, so it becomes a natural part of your financial life, not an afterthought or a guilty expense. Here's a practical step that will get you started immediately. Decide on a percentage of your income that you feel comfortable giving, no matter how small. Set up an automatic transfer to a giving fund or a cause you believe in. It might be a charity, a community project, helping a friend in need, or even investing in someone's education. The key is to give regularly and intentionally. What happens then is nothing short of miraculous. When you commit to giving as a system, you start to attract more abundance. It's a principle as old as time. What you sow, you reap. Generosity creates goodwill, builds relationships, and opens doors. The wealthy understand this. They don't hoard money, they circulate it. And by doing so, they create a flow that sustains and grows their wealth. I've seen it time and again in my own life and in the lives of those I've worked with. People who systematize giving experience a deeper sense of fulfillment and financial freedom. Their money works harder for them because it's connected to a higher purpose. This isn't about charity for the sake of charity. It's about becoming part of a larger cycle of success and prosperity. So I encourage you today, make giving a rule you never break. Build it into your financial systems, just like you do savings or investing. Because when you give, you don't lose, you multiply. And that multiplication is one of the true secrets to lasting wealth. Now, let me tell you something that many people don't realize about failure. Failure is not the end of the road. In fact, failure isn't failure at all. It's feedback. Every time things don't go as planned, it's not a judgment on you, but a signal from your system telling you what needs fixing. This is a crucial mindset shift if you want to build lasting wealth and success. Wealth isn't about never stumbling, it's about learning how to get back up and improve your system each time you do. When I was younger, I made plenty of mistakes. I lost money on bad investments. I missed opportunities because I didn't prepare. And I spent money foolishly at times. But what separated me from others who gave up was that I saw these moments not as failures, but as lessons. I understood that each mistake was a piece of data, a feedback loop from my financial system showing me where it was broken. It was like a GPS recalculating my route to success. The philosophy here is simple but powerful. Setbacks are the system's way of showing its weak points. They're not punishments, they're opportunities. When you change your perspective to view mistakes as feedback, you stop fearing failure and start embracing growth. You realize that wealth is not just about hitting a target, but about refining the way you aim. Every misstep is a chance to tighten your aim, correct your course, and improve your financial habits. The strategy to build wealth with this mindset is to systematically review your financial outcomes, especially the ones that didn't go as planned. Instead of burying your head in the sand or blaming external factors, take the time to analyze what happened. What was within your control? What choices led to the setback? This kind of reflection is invaluable because it transforms random mistakes into structured learning. A practical step I encourage you to adopt is to set aside time each month for what I call a financial review. During this time, review your financial decisions and their outcomes. Look at your spending, your investments, your savings, anything that didn't go according to plan. Write down what happened and, more importantly, what you learned from it. This process creates a habit of continuous improvement. It trains your mind to seek lessons, not excuses. I remember a time early in my career when I lost money because I jumped into a business venture without enough research. At first I was discouraged, but then I took the time to review the experience objectively. I asked myself, what signs did I miss? What could I do differently next time? That review changed my approach to business forever. I began to build systems for due diligence and risk management. That one painful setback became a stepping stone to greater financial discipline. This approach also shields you from the emotional roller coaster that often accompanies money troubles. Instead of feeling defeated, you feel empowered because you know every challenge is a chance to get better. This steadiness of mind is a hallmark of wealthy people. They don't get shaken by setbacks because their systems include learning and adapting. Remember, the wealthy don't avoid failure, they avoid repeating it. They build feedback loops into their financial systems. They know that success is a process, not a one-time event. By learning from feedback rather than fearing failure, you create a cycle of improvement that propels you forward. So the call to action is clear. Don't run from your mistakes, lean into them. Make it a habit to review your financial misses regularly and write down the lessons you extract from them. When you do, you're not just managing money, you're managing your journey to wealth with wisdom. There's a powerful lesson I've learned over the years about success and wealth. It's not just about checking off milestones or measuring progress. Too often people get obsessed with how far they've come, how many dollars they've earned, or what goals they've hit, and they forget to look deeper, to examine the very systems that produce those results. You see, success becomes predictable and repeatable only when the system itself is visible, understood, and regularly reviewed. Think of it this way. Imagine you're trying to grow a garden. You plant seeds, water them, and watch for sprouts. But if you only focus on the sprouts, you might miss signs that your watering system is faulty or the soil isn't right. Without attending to the system, the soil, water, sun exposure, your garden will suffer, no matter how much you want it to flourish. The same principle applies to your finances, your habits, your business, and your life. Philosophically, this means that true mastery isn't about random achievements, it's about predictable outcomes. And predictability comes from having solid working systems. When your system is sound, the results follow. When your system breaks down, no amount of willpower or motivation can sustain success for long. Early in my own journey, I focused so much on hitting targets, making more money, getting promotions, closing deals, that I neglected to regularly review the methods I was using. It wasn't until I made it a habit to audit my approach, my time management, my spending habits, my investment strategy, that I began to see continuous improvement. It was the system, not just the goals, that transformed my life. The strategy here is simple. Commit to a quarterly audit of your financial systems. This isn't just about numbers, it's about asking yourself the hard questions. Is my savings plan realistic? Are my investments aligned with my goals? Am I spending in a way that serves my long-term vision? These questions aren't always comfortable, but they're necessary. A practical step you can take immediately is to set a recurring appointment on your calendar every 90 days for a financial review session. Use this time not just to check your account balances, but to evaluate your entire system. What's working? What isn't? What can you improve? The goal is to identify small adjustments that keep your system robust and your progress consistent. When you make reviewing your system a ritual, you take control away from randomness and place it firmly in your hands. This empowers you to spot inefficiencies before they become disasters, to adapt to changing circumstances, and to stay on course no matter what life throws at you. So, don't just celebrate your wins or lament your setbacks. Dive deeper. Look at the processes and systems behind those results. Because when your system is sound, success isn't just a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. Keep refining, keep adjusting, and you'll build wealth and success that isn't fragile but resilient, not temporary but lasting. As we come to the close of this conversation, remember this. Wealth is not an accident. It's not something that falls into your lap or appears out of thin air. Wealth is the natural result of consistent, well-designed systems of habits, thinking, and actions that you put in place and nurture over time. And those systems don't just build money, they build character, discipline, and freedom. Too many people chase after goals like they're chasing shadows, thinking that if they hit that number or get that promotion, everything will suddenly be different. But life doesn't work that way. The truth is, the only way to make wealth permanent is to build systems that create wealth over and over again. Systems that work, whether you feel motivated or not, whether the economy is up or down, and whether the world is in chaos or calm. It's not enough to want to be rich. You have to be willing to become the kind of person who attracts and manages wealth. This means working on yourself daily, making smarter choices, setting rules you don't break, and consistently reviewing the systems that guide your money, your time, and your energy. The beauty of systems is that they free you. They remove guesswork, reduce stress, and create a reliable path forward. When you rely on a system rather than willpower alone, you build momentum. That momentum compounds just like your money should. Small daily actions repeated consistently lead to extraordinary results over time. So here's what I want you to do next. Start by taking a hard look at your financial systems. If you don't have systems, create them. Make savings automatic. Schedule time to study and grow your financial intelligence. Set rules that keep you disciplined and protect your wealth. Begin tracking your net worth, not just your income. And commit to reviewing your systems regularly, not just when things get tough, but as a part of your routine.